things. You know, when you go to a restaurant, you always get like that one item. And for me, like my one item that I always got regardless was bread pudding. And I would go to stores, go try different things, and I could never find like what I considered the perfect bread pudding.
Lots of love needs to be broken in down here. So
when you try our bread puddings, the flavors are amazing, but the big thing that you're going to see that differs our pudding to everyone else's bread puddings is the texture. So I came up with the perfect texture, and I'm like, score! What do I do now? And so I just started playing, and then before I knew it, I created over 108 flavors.
They didn't have love in that.
What I really noticed was like going to grocery stores is that bread pudding's not there. So my mindset was, let me go grocery route, and I'm going to go learn everything there is to learn about the grocery business. So I went and worked for chocolate companies, salsa companies, and tried to break into like the gourmet food store market. And the lessons that I learned, it's really expensive to start like with the marketing and getting a new product out there. And so I came up with the idea of a pudding parlor. It goes, is I'm riding my bike in Venice Beach, and I see a for rent sign of this little tiny window on Venice Beach, and I go up there and I find out it's for rent, and there we go. And so it starts with this little tiny window off in Venice Beach.
What I do is I completely cover my bread with the liquid mixture, and I just kind of push it in there.
When I first started out, so our twist that we have on bread pudding is that it's all served chilled. And it's almost more like an ice cream. So when you bite into it, you're like, wait, this isn't that brick-like day-old bread substance. This is something creamy, rich. I use my own freshest bread possible, since I make it all. So a lot of people, when they come up to our store, they say, ew, I don't want bread pudding. You know, we have good coffee. Oh, I'll take the coffee. Like, no bread pudding. And as soon as you give them a sample, they're like, what is this? I'm like, it's bread pudding. They're like, no, it's not. And I'm like, no, it is bread pudding. So when I started out, everything's chilled. That was my mind frame. And as people were coming to the window, they're like, oh no, chilled bread pudding, no. So that's when I really realized a lot of people aren't ready for chilled bread pudding. So we do offer a variety and a line of warm puddings as well. And like all of a sudden, the Food Network calls me, Sunset Magazine, and before I know it, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is actually really, really can be something. And so the concept that we're coming out with is pudding parlors. And when we're doing this, it's going to be like 20 to 30 flavors of bread pudding a day. We're going to have warm and chilled. And so that's where we're kind of going. I'm fourth generation San Francisco girl. And growing up here in the city, you don't really think, oh, Hayes Valley is going to be my first stop. And then we started looking around and saying, okay, really, what's in San Francisco? And I think Hayes Valley has something so special and so unique that no other neighborhood in San Francisco has. It's like going home. It's kind of like going on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood Lane. And when I walk into our building, I feel like Mr. Rogers should be sitting on the step tying his shoes. And he should be eating bread pudding.